Hello, Bigfoot enthusiasts. Scott here from Squatch America, and Hannah's not here tonight. No, actually, Hannah is in Atlanta virtually with a conference for her health coaching business. So she's not going to be with us tonight, but tonight we're going to be talking about something very exciting, right up my alley, so to speak. We're going to be talking about some new pictographs found right here in Eastern Oregon. We got a chance to go out and investigate them, so let's get into this. All right. So, hi, Renee. And if you want to throw in your chat, say hi. And tonight, as we're going through this, I'm going to be going through a little presentation. So, feel free to please ask me as many uh, questions as you want. So, we're going to try to explain this the best as possible tonight. But we're going to be talking about some new pictographs found in Eastern Oregon. And let's see if I can get the slides going here. There we go. So, hey, Dale, Renee, Michelle. So, hey, these are very interesting. And as you know, pictographs is my area of study, my area of expertise, my passion, as they say. So, getting to run out here and get a close look at these firsthand was really exciting for me. They were sent to me by my Squatching partner who ran into them about a month ago, or maybe two. I don't know, time flies. But I'm really, really excited to be able to talk about these things. So let's get into it. First of all, let you know, these are called pictographs. They're painted on a rock. These rocks are in just literally this is literally right on the highway. Hundreds of people drive by this thing every day, and I bet you nobody even notices them. So where they're located is, we are here in Baker City. The pictographs are located on Highway 86 right here near a town called Richland. To give you an idea who may have painted these, this arrow up north is in a town called Joseph, Oregon. It was named after Chief Joseph, not young Chief Joseph, but old Chief Joseph, from the Nez Perce tribe, or Niimipu in their language. So this would be their stomping grounds. Hi, Donna. And over here is a place called Seven Devils, and this is a Bigfoot legend from way back in the Nez Perce tribal traditions and stories. The Seven Devils area is like Bigfoot Central. So to give you an idea, this place called Wyatt Gulch on Highway 86. And these are the pictographs. Now, this is an interesting picture. I was standing right next to them taking pictures, but somehow I got a line and an orb in my picture. Dun, dun, dun. So there's that. So here's the pictographs. Now, a lot of people think that pictographs are going to be these big, huge poster-sized things that you find on the side of carved into giant rocks, which Normally, it is not the case. Their paint they used was in limited quantity when they're doing pictographs and carving them, or petroglyphs, and carving them in rocks with rocks, either the pecking method or the scraping method. Their pictures tend to not be very big because, it's a lot of work or limited resources. So if you notice these 3 pictographs, there's 3 of them there. They're not very big. The longest one is a little over 9 inches, about 9.5 inches, and the shortest one is around 6 inches. So Donna says she's excited to hear about the pictographs. Yeah, I'm excited to talk about the pictographs. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to number these for you. There's 3 of them, 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to break them down one by one and talk about what they mean in my educated guesses. So the first one is number 1. This is number 1. It has a line at the top, a circle, and a line at the bottom. Now, before I go into what this means, I want to talk about how it's made. So what they use to paint with here is this stuff called ochre. Now, there's red ochre, there's yellow ochre, there's magenta ochre, there's black ochre. Ochre is a fancy word for iron oxide, and depending on the makeup, the chemical makeup of the iron, depends on the color it is. So this here was painted with iron oxide, or what they call red ochre. And if you go back to the map I showed you and we color enhance it, so this is where the petroglyph is in that line. And once I enhance the color a little bit, I wonder if you can see any red deposits of ochre. I wonder where they found it. It literally surrounds the entire area. I mean, this area is mineral rich anyway, whether it's copper, gold, silver, red ochre, or iron oxide, as they say, iron. It's literally surrounds this area. Okay. Jack says, hey, have I seen the pictograph? The pictographs on Horse Thief Butte near the Dalles. I have not seen them personally. I know about them, but I haven't had a chance to ever get there. For some reason, every time I get to the Dalles, it's me going somewhere. I just happen to go through the Dalles. I don't get a chance to stop a whole lot. So this is where they got the red ochre or the iron oxide. And to show you how they use it, I'm going to break it down a little bit. I happen to come home and I set up a little experiment to show you where you can get this stuff, or you can even make it. Now, what I did here is I took some salt water. I stuck a couple old railroad spikes that we can pick up around here because the railroad goes through town everywhere. And I stuck them in the salt water, and I hooked a 12-volt power source to them, running about 10 amps. And as you can see, the bubbles coming off there. So basically what we're doing is we're rusting the metal. Once it's, I let it run for maybe about 4 hours, and this sludge built up in the bottom of the water. And then I poured it through a coffee filter and filtered it. And once it And that took probably all night to get all the water through it. And then the next morning, I baked it to dry it out some more and crushed it with a mortar and pestle. And I ended up with a little tube here. Let me switch. Boop. There we go. Of my very own, and this is really dark brown because I guess that was the chemical makeup of the railroad spikes. So I found a rock while we were out there. And if you notice, you can see the iron oxide that's just in the rocks around that area there. But I took the iron oxide that I made and I painted it on the bottom of the rock there. And then I added a little bit of water, painted it on there. And as you can see, it doesn't come off. So that's how these things are painted. A lot of times you can use like a fat, like lard or linseed oil. I'm not sure if the natives had linseed oil, but you mix it with water and you got ochre paint. So back to pictograph number 1. So we've got this line. Let's see if I can get my pointer up here. There we go. So we got a line up here at the top. We got a circle and a line down here at the bottom. So if you look at some of the books, and I have a lot of books on this subject, you can see what a lot of the circle symbols mean. Now, I'm going to show you, these are what it doesn't mean. Up here, you've got, these are all symbols which depict the medicine wheel, and which is a spiritual symbol in the Native American terms. And they'll either have a dot in the center or many lines around them, at least 4 directions. And then there's some that means happy, like this one here. So these are all the medicine wheel symbols. But here's what most pictographs, like 90% of them, depict. 10% of them usually tell stories. But probably about 90% of them you find out in the wild are directional. They're basically saying, hey, water this direction. Go this way if you want to hunt, stuff like that. They're actually depicting things so other natives can see the picture and say, oh, okay, I got water right up here or right down here, so I won't die of thirst. So that's what most of them are like. And this one is the same. This depiction generally means go around this area, do not go through this area. You got the line coming up, the line going around either left or right, and then the line going out. That basically depicts a direction, and that means go around. Now, did they mean go around this rock? What's on the other side of the rock? Go around this hillside behind it? I don't know. So that's number 1. So we're going to do our little commercial break and get your questions ready, because we're going to be going to number 2 here shortly. If I can find the right buttons here. I have to look around things.
Friends, the world is experiencing a new wave of food shortages. Even the president warned us to prepare. Let him help you. I'll wait. There's no better way to use your tax rebate than to get the long-term emergency food storage you've been wanting. Click on our affiliate link below and stock up while you can. We recommend My Patriot Supply, the nation's largest preparedness company. You won't go hungry when you have this food on hand. Remember, the unthinkable could happen any day now, and you will need emergency food to get you through it. No question about it. Your shipment will arrive quickly in unmarked boxes for your privacy. Click on our affiliate link below.
And I'm back. All right, so moving right along, we're going to jump to number 3. I'm skipping number 2 for a reason. Yeah, Michelle Brothers said it's a Indian roundabout. You're exactly right. That's exactly right. So we're going to look at number 3 here. And now if I enhance this photo so you can see it a little bit better, this one was really faint. Mainly because if you look on where they usually put pictographs, they put pictographs under rock formation. So they're back out of the weather a little bit, so they'll last longer, especially the painted ones. So that preserves them a little more. So this actually number 3 is a little bit further out, so it's getting a little more weather than others. Donna just asked, how old do I think these pictographs are? Typically, the red ochre ones, they last about 200 years. So I can give a guess. It's less than 200 years. So that's just where we can go. We can't really, you can't carbonate rock. And ochre is a rock or mineral. And you can't carbonate that. You can only carbonate biologics. So there's no way we can really tell. A lot of times, some of the pictographs have symbols on them that show us that the age, because maybe they're using, bows and arrows or atlatls. So that gives us a bit of a date, because we know bows were invented about 1500 years ago. So if they're using bows, it's less than 1500. If they're not, it's over. But so date wise, that's probably the closest we can come, really. So number 3 here. Now I saw this up close and I could look at it, this far away. So the pictures really do not do it justice, but I can give you an idea of what it looks like. First, we have a head. This circle here is where it looks like a head. Then you've got these 2 little arms sticking out. Then you got this very long, skinny torso. And then you got 2 little legs sticking out at the bottom. So what does this look like to me? It looks like something I've seen before. Somewhere near Porterville, California, there's the most famous Bigfoot drawing ever done. And in the hairy man, in the upper left hand above the female Bigfoot drawing is 2 very similar figures. They have a small head, little arms and legs, and a long torso. In Native American terms, they tend to call this Slender Man. No, not really. Just kidding. It's Stick Man. Okay, so Stick Man here, you can see they have a long body, very, very long body. Like you can even see in here, they've got depictions of like normal people, but they've got these long bodies here. And what they represent is basically the danger sign. It's like danger, Will Robinson sign. And in this pictograph particularly, you see these handprints. Handprints in Native American terms are directional. We point with our fingers. They point with their whole hand. So it's this way or that way, or, they use their hands. So in this particular pictograph, you've got, danger, this direction kind of deal. So if I go back to this depiction here, as far as my educated guess goes, we've got a stick man here, and he's saying danger. So we've got a symbol that says go around this area. We got a symbol that says danger. So what is number 2? Oh, let me. Donna says, very good. What's the blue on the rocks? Well, I will get into that. And Renee says, they're star people. Put a comment down below if you think they're the star people. But the blue on the rock, let me back up here to our enhanced photo. Boom, that one. The blue is actually when you enhance the photograph and you see this blue here, that's actually copper. That's copper that's in the rock. It has a green or a blue-green tinge to it as it, rusts, basically. That's what that is. That's actually copper that's in the rocks here. So that's what that blue color is. So when you enhance the photos, you'll see some green in them, and like symbol number 2. Now we're going to get into the fun part. Symbol number 2. Now, if you look here, we've got, as an enhance it, you've got your copper in the rocks here. This bright green thing here is a piece of moss, a little bit of lichen that's on the rock. But so you can see the symbol a little bit better here. Does it remind you of anything? Just asking. Here's what we got. We've got a big head with no neck, which is typical to most Bigfoot accounts that I have ever heard or seen with my own eyes. You've got these big old paws, these big mitts on the end of the hands. You've got a long, wide torso, which is also indicative of every Bigfoot report I've ever heard. And you've got these tree trunk type legs down below. So does that look like a Bigfoot to you? Back up here. It is really super similar to the one that's in Porterville, California. It's almost identical, except for the weepy eyes. And this was more of a blotch. So I think this one is, since it's smaller, it's only 6 inches tall. And the one in California that we're looking at here is over 8 feet tall. They were able to put a little more detail in it. This one here was probably painted with their finger in a little bit of ochre and water. So the other one was painted with probably ochre also, but like I said, it was a lot bigger. So let's jump ahead here. So there's our 1, 2, 3. So we got a symbol go around this area. We got Bigfoot, and then we got the stickman danger, 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 danger. So Donna says it looks intimidating. It really does. Renee says go around this area because Bigfoot is fighting with the star people. Hey, that's probably just as valid as my interpretation. Really. I meant I wasn't the guy who painted it, so I didn't know what it meant, but this is a pretty good idea. Okay, Dale's asking, we started watching one of your older talking about the Bigfoot highway, which is over by Estacada, Oregon. Is it close to that? No, Dale, it's about 400 miles away, actually, from the Bigfoot highway. This is in the Blue Mountains. So, yeah, that's on the other side of the state from here, the Bigfoot highway. This is our own personal Bigfoot highway. This is a road that goes between two mountain ranges, the Blue Mountains. You got the Elkhorns and the Eagle Cap Mountains, and both those, and there's a valley, Baker Valley, where I live, is between those two mountains. And this is on the northeastern range, which is the Eagle Cap Mountains, the base of the Eagle Caps, or also known as the Wallowas, the Wallowa Mountains, which is the historic home of the Nez Perce Indians. And by the way, this road, I'm going to show you where we're at. Now, did I walk up around the area? Yes, I did. I walked up around the rock formation and I took a picture of my truck from up there, and I didn't see anything that dangerous up there. And hey, Jack, I'm going to get to your question here in a sec. Just to let you know, I saw it. So the picture of my truck down there is on Highway 86. Now, what's another interesting thing is this would probably be a good ambush spot from up here on this rock on the highway. Now, back in the 1800s, that highway wasn't there, but that highway was built over this little known trail called the Oregon Trail. So wagons passed through here on their way to Oregon. When they first got into Oregon, this is where it happened. So they went between the two valleys. They went down this basically followed the Powder River, which is right on the other side of it. Here, I'll show you. The Powder River is right here. The highway's right there. This is where I'm standing up. So Donna's got a great question here. I'm going to come back to yours, Jack. But it says, I wonder what the environment looked like 200 years ago. I bet it was similar. Because this is a high desert area, but it's not devoid of water. So a lot of people think that, especially in the high deserts, you got all this sagebrush over, you're going to, die of thirst because there's no water. There's literally a river running right through this area. I mean, that's why the wagon train followed the Powder River through this canyon. And there is other tributaries running into that creek, which is right next to this rock that's runs down off the hill into the Powder River, there in Wyatt Gulch. So I'm going to back up and I'm going to answer Jack's question. Have you looked at Google Earth for the area? Are there geographic features that match the turnabout? Well, this is the area. We're going to have to zoom in a little bit here. Let's see if I got one closer. This one here. Okay, so this is where that area is. These are captured. I wish I was live so I could zoom out. Back up to this big picture. So this Wyatt Gulch is right there. It could be like a line right here. Let me turn that off so you can see. It could be. That was my phone. I forgot to turn it off. So, okay, so this is where, oh shoot, I lost my pointer here. So this right here is where that pictograph is. And I don't know if you can see it, but there does seem to be a line here in a hilltop right there and a line going out the top. Could be, which leads right into this mountain range, which is the Wallowa Mountains. Basically, there's a huge lake right up here called Wallowa Lake. And this area here, many Bigfoot reports. And this little heart right here, if you ever watched the movie from way back in the day, the Western called Paint Your Wagon, it was literally filmed right there. They built that no-name city right there. And then tore it down during the filming. And they hauled all that stuff in and all that stuff out. But this is the Wallowa Mountains. This peak here is almost 10,000 feet. So from where this river is down here, it is really not that far of a hike into some serious mountain ranges. So that really could be, if you wanted to look up Wyatt Gulch on your Google Maps, or just go to Richland and then go back down Highway 86 a little ways, you'll see Wyatt Gulch, and that's exactly where that is. And Jack, you are absolutely correct. It does look like this is a mountain range where they would be inhabited by forest people. What you may have missed is this range right here. Click to get this to work. This right here is actually called the Seven Devils, and you can look up a Nez Perce Indian story called The History of the Seven Devils, and it's about 7 Bigfoot and what Coyote did to trick them into becoming stone. So this whole area is also very well known by the natives and even today as a Bigfoot area. So, any more questions on our stuff? So it was kind of fun being able to get out and about again. I'm going to take a couple minutes right now and talk to you a little bit about what's coming up. We told you earlier that on October 1st, there's a train that runs out of the Eagle Cap excursion train that runs out of Elgin, Oregon. On October 1st, we're going to be doing the Bigfoot train. It'll leave the station in the morning. I can't remember what time. I think it's about 8 or 9 o'clock. and then goes into the Troy area of Oregon. And Hannah and I will be on the train talking to all the passengers about Bigfoot and the history of Bigfoot in that area as the train goes by. So there's that. And also, I've got, let me flip over here. What did I do with the photo? I always lose this stuff. Here we go. There's the Bigfoot Rendezvous in Pocatello, Idaho. Over in Pocatello, Idaho, there's going to be on September 24th and 25th. Or no, I'm sorry, 23rd and 24th. Had to look at my notes. There's going to be the Pocatello Bigfoot Rendezvous. And the guest speakers are going to be Cliff Barrickman, Jeff Meldrum, Mark Marcel. If you don't know him, he runs a podcast called Bigfoot Society, and he's an Ape Canyon Bigfoot expert, and myself. So all four of us are going to be there, and we'll be speaking both days. That's September 24th and 25th in Pocatello, Idaho, the Bigfoot Rendezvous. So, back to the comments here. All right, Dale asked, and I'm glad you asked. Were there any interesting stories from last weekend? Okay, last weekend we had the Miners Jubilee here in Baker City, Oregon, where rodeo, street dance, and vendors in the park. And we were in the park all weekend, and we got some stories. Yeah, we always do. People come in and tell us their stories. We did get some pretty cool, interesting stories. Had a pilot actually. The pilot had flew over up here on the mountain behind us. There's a ski resort called Anthony Lakes, a ski resort, and he had flew over the ski area in the early spring after everybody had kind of left and the ski resort had closed down because the snow had melted a little bit. And he took some photos from his plane of tree structures that were really interesting. Then they were so interesting from the air that he actually, when he drove up there later on and looked at them up close and personal, had to snowshoe a little bit into where they were. But what was really shocking to him is that they were in an area where there's not a lot of people. The road doesn't go there. They haven't logged it in forever. So they were pretty interesting. Tree structures, we're going to show that here coming up. And we also got I'm going to shock you right here. We got a picture of a footprint that a gentleman came in. He laid his rifle next to it. He since then sent me a photo with a tape measure on his rifle, so I know how long this is. But we'll be talking about this later, but I'm going to go investigate this particular interesting footprint. I guess there were 7 of these footprints going up this hillside. And so they're pretty close to 16, 17 inches long. And I asked him, so how long ago did you find these footprints? And his answer to me was last Thursday. So that was a week from today, a week ago, not a week from, but a week ago from today. This area was found between the towns of Sumter and Granite, Oregon, which is some rough country. That's gold country. There's trees and lots of water, and it's kind of rough. It's straight up and down. So which is typical Bigfoot territory, especially for here in the Blue Mountains. Everybody knows the Blue Mountains are are ripe with Bigfoot. So Renee asks, are those the only ones around? I take it she's talking about the pictographs. Um, they're not. They're the first one that I have seen that have what I consider the Bigfoot symbol on them. There are some around that I have found. Uh, there's a whole bunch in Hell's Canyon, uh, which is near the Seven Devils area. There are a lot there, which I have never had a chance to go check out because you have to pay to rent, to take a ride on a jet boat to get down the river to where they're at, and then they have to jet boat you back up the rapids to get back. So I haven't had a chance to do that yet, but there's that. There's a lot in the Hell's Canyon area, which is just outside of Halfway, which is 20 miles from where this one is. There may be some others that I just haven't found. You never know. They are everywhere. We ran into some in Mountain Home, outside of Mountain Home, when my son and I were hunting a couple years ago. Well, I guess it'd been like 5 years ago. We were just walking through this little canyon, and I sat down on a rock, and my son looked over at me and said, "Do you know you're sitting on pictographs?" I didn't even see him. So they're pretty prevalent. A lot of people just don't notice them because it looks like stains on the rock sometimes, especially if they've faded quite a bit. So there's that. So someone asked Renee, you want to come over and go to or Pop Craig or Galen or anybody else that's in chat? Want to come on over? We'll go check out some Bigfoot tracks up in Sumter. Be happy to take you with us. So, any other questions for the good of the order? So I covered red okra. Okra. That's totally something different. Red ochre, iron oxide, as they say, and how these things are made. There's also what I did show you is there's two types. So if we're going to talk about the ones we just saw were painted on, and where's that other photo? These ones here are done with what's called pecking, where you take a rock that has a kind of sharper point on it and you put little dots in the rock and you connect all your dots together and you draw a picture. So that's something to look for. You either look for the red ochre. There's also yellow ochre and black ochre, but generally in most everywhere it's red. So if you look for this red pigment that you don't, if you look at this rock here where I'm taking the photo here, there's browns and there's the rust color from the iron deposits, this rusty color, but you don't have the red or the black, in it. It's not that bright. So you can tell the difference between the kind of copper colored rust in this and the red in these photographs. Okay, Jack says, I would love to. Keep me in mind. I'm in the Dalles. We do get over the Dalles. Actually, my wife lived in the Dalles for a while. So next time we get over that direction, we'll be glad to hook up. If you ever find anything over there, Jack, or get any stories, let us know, and we'll come and investigate them. So, and of course, we'll probably get more stories when we get on the Bigfoot train in October for sure. There's really not any more events that we're going to be at, unfortunately, because gas prices. Oh, Jack says, I can take you up on Mount Hood. Been there. One of my favorite spots. One of my good friends. We got a gal, actually, Jack, that is part of our organization that lives in Troutdale. So she's not too far from you. And she goes out all the time. If you want, you can email us at squatchamerica@gmail.com. And I can get you hooked up to go out and do some investigating because we get stories over there too. I need to get Christy back on too. She's found some more stuff. So, of course, she lives on the Bigfoot Highway, which Dale asked about. So, she literally lives on the Bigfoot Highway. So, any more petroglyphs, scary Bigfoot symbols out there? Hey, you're late again there, cowboy. Good to see you. So, what you're seeing, cowboy, on the screen right now is a Native American pictograph that we found last week here in Eastern Oregon of Bigfoot. To recap, that's the one in California, and that's the one we just found. Donna asked, do the pictographs have texture? The petroglyphs, which are the carved ones, definitely they do. The pictographs, not so much. They're painted on, so it's basically a layer of paint or stain almost, stain the rocks. Now, this one here, for instance, let me go back to the first photo. Where'd it go? This one, we found the go-around symbol. This one did have a little bit, it's the brightest of all of them. It hasn't faded. It was up underneath. There's this area up here was over, it's like a shelf over top of this. So this was fairly protected. And plus this leans back a little bit here. But this one here, and there's some spots where you can actually see how thick it was. It's like a thick layer of paint on them. So yeah, Renee said she saw some in Utah. Can't remember what they were, and I was about 15. Yeah, so if you see pictographs, please email me at squatchamerica@gmail.com and send me the photographs. I'd love to see them and chat with you about them. Like I said, this is my area that I studied in college, was Native American cultural anthropology, but my particular interest was in pictographs and petroglyphs, and I've got to see these all over the United States. We've actually did a research trip to Chaco Canyon, New Mexico with a university where I actually wrote some papers on them. So yeah, Gavin says I grew up fishing in the Tool Indian Reservation, or Tulare Indian Reservation outside of Porterville back in the 60s. Never knew about that Bigfoot pic. I don't remember when that one was actually found. I'd like to think it was somewhere in the 60s, but don't quote me on that. Yeah, but to date, that's the most interesting Bigfoot pictograph that's ever been found. Um, so I'm so glad that we were able to find this one here, which is so similar. I mean, it just shocks me that it's almost the exact same pictograph um, than the one in California. So we got almost identical. I mean, it's just shocking to me, other than the size difference in detail, but the outline is identical to the one in Porterville. So Donna asks, are there any in New England, Vermont? Yes, there are. There's pictographs all over the United States. The thing is a lot of people don't notice them. I imagine in Vermont and back there in Maine, where Dale is, there are pictographs. People find them mostly along waterways. You'll have to. That seems to be a typical place you find them. Like this one here was right on the river. Um, Major trade routes back in the day with the Native Americans trade routes, you'll find a lot of pictographs and spiritual centers like Chaco Canyon and or places where there were big events, battles, stuff like that. You'll find stories of the battle carved into rocks in those areas. Um, so typically on some of the old trade routes, which are similar to some of the places we see today, like the Appalachian Trail, uh, this Continental Divide Trail, I think it is, and the Pacific Trail, are those three where people can hike from the bottom of the America up to Canada. Um, those trails have been in existence for a long time, and they were used as trade routes for the Native Americans. So they have a lot of pictographs. So Renee says it's amazing they have lasted. It is. The red ochre ones, like the ones we're seeing here, are painted on, which is the paint that lasts. Basically, it's iron oxide. So once you get it swiped into the little cracks and crevices in the rock, it tends to just sit there and rust and hang on. So it basically stains the rock. So that's why they last as long as they do. It's not. It's more like of a stain than a paint, kind of half and half. Uh, so that's one of the reasons they last so long. Now the one in California, it was a lot better detail. This is kind of when and the reason the one in California lasted as long as it has is it is literally in a cave. Basically, it's like a big rock on top of a bunch of rocks, and you can walk through it. So that's what gives it. I don't know if you can see the like up here. This is actually a big boulder on top of another boulder, which made basically a hallway or a cave that this is in. The ones that are inside caves have lasted even longer. I know we've got like the Neanderthal ones in France. Those cave paintings have been there for at least 10,000, 15,000 years. So the ochre paint seems to last. You should paint your house with it. So I showed you how to make it tonight. So so hey Mopar Bill, glad you made it the last 10 minutes. So any other questions on pictographs and their history? We've got about 10 minutes. Little reminder, if you want to come see us, we're going to be on the click buttons here. The Eagle Cap Excursion Train in Elgin, Oregon on October 1st. We'll be doing a Bigfoot tour on a train tour. So you get to ride the train and have lunch on the train, and we'll talk Bigfoot. And then also, like I said, we have Smooch over here. And then I got to find it. I'm really bad at this. Okay, here we go. The Bigfoot Rendezvous, September. This is a big heads up, so you got time. So it's September 23rd and 24th in Pocatello, Idaho. The Bigfoot Review, where the guest speakers are going to be Cliff Berkman, Jeff Meldrum, Mark Marcel, and myself. So, and we'll be talking about this pictograph. And we'll be talking about Donna's big find of her cripple foot number 2 there. So, and that's going to be my chance, Donna, that I get to show the copy of the Bigfoot. I'm going to actually give a copy of your cast to Dr. Meldrum and Cliff. Renee asked if there's any on the face of Mount Emily. Do you know what? I've never been on the face of Mount Emily. Maybe. You never know. I'll have to go look. I have had, we did actually, Mount Emily is another hot spot. This here, we recorded that on Mount Emily a couple years ago in the middle of the night. So back to the comments. So yeah, if you go back and see the video in our archives called Bigfoot Stole My Huckleberries, that was our investigation that night up there in Mount Emily. Which is Renee and I's both old stomping grounds. I mean, we both grew up in the base of Mount Emily, basically, our hometown. All right, we got a couple more minutes. Any last things? So with that said, I'd like you guys hit the like button and subscribe and share this video. That helps us a lot. We do have a video that's going to, that the Patreons and Coffee Club has already saw. It's been up for a couple of days, but thanks to them and their support, we were able to send a care package to a young man in Texas. So yeah, I think he was just outside of Emory, Texas. Anyway, that video is going to go live tomorrow morning. If you want to, please watch all the way to the end. In the middle, it kind of looks like there's credits, but keep watching and show you what we were able to do for that young man down in Texas. So with that said, we have found us a Bigfoot right here in Eastern Oregon, a historical depiction. Something else we can add to the annals of the Bigfoot story. So thank you all for joining us, or us, because I don't have my partner here. I always scroll the wrong way. Just remember, folks, our job is to investigate the unexplained, not to explain the uninvestigated. With that said, like and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching. and keep it squatchy. Go out and find Bigfoot. Bye. As I scroll.